August 2nd, 216 BC, the plains of southern Italy. By the time the sun set on this scorching summer day, over 50,000 Roman soldiers lay dead in the dirt. Some historians estimate the number was closer to 80,000. To put that into perspective, Rome lost more men in a single afternoon than the United States lost during the entire decade of the Vietnam War. This wasn't an ambush in a dark forest. This was a pitched battle on an open plain, where the Romans outnumbered their enemy nearly 2-1. They had the heaviest infantry, the best armor, and the absolute certainty of victory. Yet, they were entirely annihilated. How did an army of outmatched mercenaries, led by a man named Hannibal Barca, pull off the most devastating, flawless tactical trap in human history? Welcome to the Battle of Cannae. Part 2. The Build-Up and the Monster at the Gates. To understand the slaughter at Cannae, we have to rewind. The Second Punic War was raging, and the Republic of Rome was facing its ultimate nightmare. Hannibal Barca, the legendary Carthaginian general, had done the impossible. He had marched his army, including war elephants, over the frozen Alps and invaded Italy itself. For 2 years, Hannibal roamed the Italian countryside, humiliating the Roman legions. He destroyed an army at the river Trebia and ambushed another at Lake Trasimene. Rome was paralyzed by panic. Their traditional military strategy, marching straight at the enemy and crushing them with overwhelming force, was failing miserably. Desperate times call for desperate measures. In 216 BC, the Roman Senate decided to stop playing games. They raised the largest army in the history of the Republic. 8 legions, combined with allied troops, totaling roughly 86,000 men. Their mission was simple: find Hannibal, surround him with sheer numbers, and crush him into the dust. They finally caught up with him near a small supply depot in southern Italy, a place called Cannae. Part 3. The Deployment and the Mind Game. The battlefield at Cannae was flat and dusty, bordered by the Aufidus River. The Roman commanders, Paullus and Varro, looked across the field and saw Hannibal's army of 50,000 men. The Roman plan lacked imagination, but it was terrifyingly brutal. They packed their infantry incredibly deep, like a massive human battering ram. Their goal was to punch straight through Hannibal's center before his superior cavalry could flank them. But Hannibal was a master of military psychology. He knew exactly what the Romans wanted to do, and he decided to let them do it. Instead of a flat line, Hannibal arranged his infantry in a crescent formation, bulging outwards toward the Roman center. He placed his weakest, least reliable troops, Gauls and Spaniards, right in the middle. But on the far edges of the infantry line, he placed his elite, battle-hardened African veterans hidden in deep columns. Finally, on the wings, he placed his devastating cavalry. Hannibal himself stood right in the center with his weakest men. He knew that to make the trap work, he had to hold the line personally, looking death in the eye. Part 4. The Climax, the Trap Springs. The battle began with a deafening roar as the massive Roman steamroller crashed into Hannibal's center. Just as the Romans planned, the Carthaginian center began to buckle. The Gauls and Spaniards were pushed back, step by bloody step. The Romans cheered, smelling blood. They pressed forward, packing tighter and tighter together as they surged into the center, eager for the kill. But what the Romans didn't realize was that they weren't winning. They were walking into a pouch. As the center fell back, the crescent shape inverted. The Romans were now surrounded on 3 sides by Hannibal's infantry. Suddenly, Hannibal gave the signal. His elite African veterans, waiting patiently on the left and right flanks, turned completely inward and marched straight into the sides of the Roman formation. The Roman advance slammed to a halt. Simultaneously, Hannibal's heavy cavalry, having chased away the weaker Roman horsemen, swept around the back of the battlefield. They crashed into the rear of the Roman infantry. The trap was sprung. The door was locked. This was the legendary double envelopment. Part 5. The Slaughter. What followed was not a battle, but an industrial-scale execution. The Romans were packed so tightly together that men in the center couldn't even raise their swords. They could do nothing but wait for hours as the Carthaginians systematically butchered their way inward from the outside edges. Dust filled the air, blinding the trapped legionaries. Blood turned the dry earth to mud. By sunset, Rome's greatest army had simply ceased to exist. Only a few thousand men managed to break out and flee into the night. Part 6. Legacy and Outro. Cannae shattered the myth of Roman invincibility. It was a masterpiece of tactical timing and psychological warfare. Even today, over 2,000 years later, the Battle of Cannae is taught in military academies across the world, from West Point to Sandhurst, as the ultimate example of the perfect battle. If you found this dive into ancient military history fascinating, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more epic battles that shaped our world. Let me know in the comments, do you think Hannibal was the greatest general of the ancient world, or does Alexander the Great still hold the crown? Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.